Good evening and welcome back to 31 Horror Nights. It's October 19th and tonight's movie is Red Rooms. This is a psychological horror movie from 2023 about this young woman investigating a man who murders people, like, for profit in front of other people to watch. But I'm pretty sure she's not, like, an investigative reporter or, like, a PI or anything. I think she's just, like, a person. The trailer was very vague. It just sort of showed you a bunch of random things without context. This movie is from Canada, but it's like French Canadian, so most of it seems to be in French. And Horror Nights has taught me that French people don't make normal movies, they're built different. I wonder if that translates to French Canadians as well. I'm going to assume this was intentional. They call these like murder rooms, these murder parties, red rooms. And red room sounds very similar to red rum, which was murder backwards from The Shining. I'm sure there's going to be some sort of commentary about like class warfare and the way that the rich exploit the poor. This was sort of touched on in the Hostel movies, I believe. I also get the feeling that the movie wants me to be very suspicious of the main character, Kellyanne. Like, I'm pretty sure she did something. And according to the description of this movie, she's investigating the murder of a young woman who suspiciously looks like her. So now I'm suddenly imagining the most off-the-wall twist where, like, she's a ghost, but it's like the Sixth Sense, she doesn't know she's dead, and she's somehow investigating her own murder. I guess in a couple hours I'll see if that's truly ridiculous, right on the mark, or I didn't go crazy enough. Let me go check it out. Red Rooms is a very interesting movie. I can't think of anything that this reminds me of. It's also very good. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. This is one of those movies that really opens up the conversation for different analyses and interpretations of the film, and generally I don't love those movies, but this one is very interesting in the things that it presents you. The cinematography is very cramped. I don't know if it's in like full 4:3 like full screen aspect ratio, but it's definitely not widescreen. A lot of the times the shots are like very close or at an odd angle. And this movie is partial to its long takes. In fact, it has one of the longest takes I've ever seen in a movie where the whole thing is not supposed to look like it's in one take. At the very beginning, there's a point where this is like the courtroom and the trial, and both the prosecution and the defense present their opening statements all in one take, and it was 12 minutes long. There was a part in it that honestly I thought was kind of funny because it was right after the prosecution gave their opening statement, and the judge was saying his next line, like, the defense can speak, but he coughed and he like said, "Excuse me," and I was thinking like, I'm sure that was not part of the script. They just did that and they thought like, crap, we don't have to do all that again. Just keep going, keep going. I remember hearing about the famous long take in Children of Men where blood hit the camera, the director called cut, and the cast literally ignored him and kept going. And that's apparently the take they ended up using. Most of the movie centers around its main character, Kellyanne, who is truly an enigmatic character. At no point was I able to really pin down what she was thinking or why she was doing the things that she was doing, and that is left deliberately ambiguous throughout the entire film. In my opinion, this whole movie is sort of like a commentary on the morbid fascination that people have with true crime, which has really shot up since 2020. And Kellyanne, I think, is the personification of that morbid fascination, and we all know the stereotypes. It makes sense that she's a young woman. I kind of just want to end this and move on to the spoiler section because most of the analysis only really applies if you know the basic outline. I would recommend this movie. It's not really like anything I've seen before. And now I want to go into a few spoilers. Kellyanne's character is the center of this movie because a lot of her actions don't make any sense, and you never really get a look into her mind as to why she does any of the things that she does. And it's for a lot of similar reasons that some people find things like murderers so fascinating. The two most notable things that she does in this movie are one that's really, really bad, and the other one that is technically really good. As it turns out, the fact that she looks like one of the victims is in fact a coincidence. There's not really any sort of deeper meaning to that, but it is something that Kellyanne takes advantage of at one point. She puts on a wig, she puts in blue contacts, she puts on fake braces and a schoolgirl uniform to look as close as possible to the last known picture of this 13-year-old girl. And she completes her transformation inside the courtroom with that girl's parents and the killer watching. She has to get dragged out, and for the only time in the entire movie, the accused actually starts to exude any sort of emotion or humanity. He locks eyes with Kellyanne and just sort of waves at her. And the score loses its mind when this happens. I'm pretty sure they just used a scream sound. But she's also online a lot. She does a lot of online gambling. That's her secondary source of income. I think her primary source of income is a modeling career. And she also has like Bitcoin accounts, and she uses that Bitcoin to go onto the deep web and participate in the auction of the final snuff film, because one of them was never released. It was never found by the authorities. She buys it on the black market for 20 Bitcoin and then puts it on a flash drive and leaves it at the house of that girl's mother. And that last bit of evidence is actually used to end the trial early and just send this guy to prison forever. Oh yeah, and she also put back on her little girl outfit and took a few selfies in that girl's room while she was doing it. When you look at the whole thing, it's really hard to pin down her motives throughout this movie. If she was just obsessed with this killer or even thought that he was innocent, why did she go out of her way to find that last bit of evidence to put him away? If she actually wanted there to be justice, why didn't she send that to the authorities? Why did she drop it off at the house of that girl's parents? The best explanation I can come up with is that this one case is her latest obsession. She is putting all her resources into examining and researching and working within this case. And I think that stunt she pulled in the courtroom by putting on a schoolgirl outfit was like her twisted idea of some kind of test to see if she could determine the guilt of the accused. And I guess she got whatever reaction she wanted to determine his guilt and then went out of her way to get that last bit of evidence. But that's all quite a stretch. I think it's more likely that we're not supposed to ever understand why. I don't even think the people who made the movie have an explanation as to why. In a way, she's a lot like the accused party in this movie, who just sits there with this blank expression on his face and never says a word. We don't know why he did what he did, we just know what he did, and you can interpret however you want. Overall, Red Room is such an interesting psychological study, but it's also very unnerving and bizarre. I was not expecting it to be as fascinating as it ended up being. Alright, thank you for listening. I'll see you tomorrow.